प्रभुपाद की, अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की, नामाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की, प्रेम से गो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की, श्री श्री राधा गोपीनाथ की, श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा की, the Lordship Shri Shri Gauranitai ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Prabhupada ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading from Canto 4, Chapter 26, titled King Puranjana Goes to the Forest to Hunt. Text number 19. Satvayan slakshnaya vacha hridayena viduyatha preyasya sneha sambrahma lingam atmani nabhyagat Satvayan slakshnaya vacha hridayena viduyatha preyasya sneha samramba lingam atmani nabhyayat Satvayan slakshnaya vacha hridayena viduyata preyasya sneha samrama lingam atmani nabhyagat. Hridayena viduyata sambrahma lingam atmani nabhyagat. Hridayena viduyata ekasya krika sambrahma lingam atmani nabhyagat. Santayat lakshnaya vacha hridayena viduyatha yasya sneha sambrahma lingam atmani nabhyagat. Mataji. Satvayan slakshnaya vacha hridayena viduyatha preyasya sneha Satvayan salakshanaya vacha hridayena viduyata preyasya sneha sambrahma lingam atmani nabhyagat. So we'll go by word translation. Satvayan, pacifying. Sulakshnaya, by sweet. Vacha, words. Hridayena, with the heart. Viduyata, regretting very much. Preyasya, of his beloved. Sneha, from affection. Sambrama, of anger. Lingam, symptoms. Atmani, inner heart. Na, did not. Apyat, arose. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The king, with aggrieved mind, began to speak to his wife with very pleasing words. Although he was filled with regret and tried to pacify her, he could not see any symptom of anger caused by love within the heart of his beloved wife. The king very much regretted having left his queen and having gone to the forest to execute sinful activities. When a person regrets his sinful activities, the abandoning of Krishna consciousness and good intelligence, his path of deliverance from the path of material clutches is opened. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.5, Parabhayas tavat abodha yato yavan na jignasata atma tattvam. When a person loses his Krishna consciousness and loses interest in self-realization, he must engage in sinful activities. All one's activity in a life devoid of Krishna consciousness simply leads to defeat and misuse of one's life. Naturally, one who comes to Krishna consciousness regrets his previous sinful activities in the human form. Only by this process can one be delivered from the clutches of nescience or ignorance in material life. Let's chant the Mangalacharan together. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Takshurum Militam Yena Dasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Stvapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadanti Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savatudam Parijana Charitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padhan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Suthe Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patithanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna everyone. So this chapter we're continuing on King Puranjana coming back after going for a hunt, and then he comes home and sees that his wife is not around, or he feels kind of distress, and then he asks some of the maids there, and he comes to know that his wife is actually in the room. She's not even lying in the bed, she's lying on the floor. She's not dressed properly, like in sense she's not decorated herself, and then she's very sad. So Here we can see that the king, the translation, the king with aggrieved mind began to speak to his wife with very pleasing words. Although he was filled with great regret and tried to pacify her, he could not see any symptom of anger caused by love within the heart of his beloved wife. So there are two things to pick up. So one is the philosophical side of things, and there's also the relationship between a husband and wife as well. And I've told this before as well, like, when we have different speakers come and talk on different subjects, we get different aspects of how this subject matter is being analyzed. So before going to the philosophical part of it, I want to touch about the way that King Puranjana is actually dealing with his wife. Now this whole story, as we know, is an allegorical story where Narada Muni is trying to preach to King Prachina Bharati to make him come out of the material entanglement, because he was doing a lot of yagyas and everything. But again, that is not the end goal of life. It only gives fruitive activity, which again leads to more attachment to the material world, and it actually is not good for spiritual enlightenment or liberation, as I said. So this story is about, so when we think about Puranjana, we think about, okay, I don't want to be like that, right? I need to be very pakka in my spiritual life, very determined, focused and everything. But we have to understand that our mind is our biggest enemy, because our mind gives all kind of excuses to doing certain things, and for some reasons not doing certain things. If we are actually able to see our mind from a third person perspective, then we will see whether the decisions that we are making is good or bad. Okay? Now, in this example, we see Puranjana as a person who's actually pulled by his senses, and is actually not living the life of how a spiritually motivated person needs to live, right? That we know. But then, just asking the question to all the Matajis here, if you are sad, would you not like your husband to come and speak to you in very pleasing words to pacify you? So that's the other side of the thing. So what our mind will do is, if you are going towards path of spirituality, if somebody, and this is not even related just to between husband and wife. It's also related to dealing with devotees as well. When you see a devotee is in pain or in a very difficult situation in their phase of spiritual life or in their personal life, we might actually just take a back step and say, okay, this is all temporary, right? Why do you worry about it? We can say these cold statements. But the moment that we get a letter or a meeting from a manager that they're going to make you redundant or make us redundant, what happens to us? Do we think like, oh, this is all redundant, this is all a temporary thing, this will pass through, I'm very happy, I'm not disturbed by it? No. We just want to call somebody and say, and we want somebody to comfort us. Though we know that it's not going to change the outcome of what the manager has said. So here it's the same thing. Either it's between a husband and wife or with devotees. The important thing that here I'd like to point out is, although he was in regret and tried to pacify, he could not see any symptom of anger caused by love within the heart. So when you love someone, that it does not see him as a disturbance. Like when somebody comes and approaches you to help, for venting out, for sharing their heart, it's not a waste of time. You really want to be there for them. But when you think that you don't have a relationship with that person, then it becomes, even a 5-minute chat becomes looks like a 2-hour, 2-hour exercise in the gym. But if you like a person, it looks different. You will be happy that you are actually there to help them. So when somebody is coming to help, we should not think that, okay, I don't want to be like Puranjana. Okay, I just wanted to just get them out, and then I just need to focus on my spiritual life. That's not the way it is. If this has been this has happened in all the families, we would not have broken families, not only in Australia, in all over the world. So there are some things that we can learn how we can actually deal with people around. Because our mind will say that this is actually what I need to take it as a principle. And also there are many verses in Srimad Bhagavatam which says like, children are like wolf, kids are like praise, like sucking the blood out of the body of the husband because they're always asking. And we actually kind of put this narrative in our head that what we're doing is actually taking us away from Krishna consciousness. But on the other hand, when we hear Rishabdev talking to his sons, like, whatever you're actually doing is actually the same, any sense enjoyment, that same sense enjoyment is actually is the same enjoyment that is actually got by a stool, the worm in the stool. The same enjoyment that you're getting when eating, the animal also gets it. The same enjoyment that you're actually getting by sleeping in a nice bed, a dog also gets in the street. And when you hear about Dhruva Maharaj, when he went to meditate, when he was angry, he just ate fruits, leaves, twigs, and then in the end he actually just breathed in air and didn't even eat. When we come across those things, then mind will say, but you have to be practical, right? You have to be very practical. You can't be pushing yourself too much. Your health will get spoiled. What will happen if health gets spoiled? Then you cannot do service. But on the other side, when verses like this comes, which actually sits in the purview of our thinking, then immediately we'll say, yes, Srimad Bhagavatam says that, so I'm going to use it. So we have to understand these verses in the way that it is not about a man, how we deal with wife, or woman, how to deal with man, but it's more about trying to tell us that we are soul and how we need to see things from a third person's perspective. Otherwise we get entangled. Because as you know, the pastime or the story that, about a guru and two pupils were walking, and they were about to cross a river, and then there was one lady, one young girl who was waiting in the banks of the river, and the gurus asked what happened. Okay, I need to cross the river to go and attend a wedding of my friend, but the water has raised, so if I go, my dress will get wet, and I cannot go with a wet dress to a marriage event. So the guru said, okay, she's a small girl, come, I will carry you. So he put her on her shoulder and then crossed the river, and then he put her down, and she thanked the guru and then left. Now the disciples were confused. They were like discussing among themselves and everything. And then the guru, when they had time to rest, he asked what happened. He said, like, Guru Maharaj, but you are a sannyasi, but you actually like carried a lady, like a small girl, like 18-year-old or 16-year-old girl. He said, like, yes, but I actually dropped her off when we crossed the river. But you are still carrying her in your mind. So that is the whole perspective. And from that perspective, if you see, you cannot determine who's senior, who's advanced, who's not advanced. There could be somebody who's been in the movement for 30 years, but they might still be struggling with certain things. But there could be some person who's in the movement for about 2-3 years, but he or she might actually be detached and do things just for the sake of doing. And that's where there's a difference that comes between doing your duty and attached. It's not that when you get money you're attached. You have to do certain things because it's dharma, whether you like it or not. So this relates to one thing which I never understood when Prabhupada was explaining is it I don't know if it's in that Perfect Question, Perfect Answer or in some other book. When reporter asked Srila Prabhupada, he said that to the reporter, it's not even an Indian reporter, it's from the Western, from the US. So when she or he was asking, Prabhupada said, devotees has no ambition. Or I don't know whether it's actually a devotee's parents. He said, devotee has no ambition. Then the person who's asking the question is like, why? Why do you say that? How can one person be without any ambition? Because only if you have ambition to do something, then you can even being in Krishna conscious, you need to have ambition to that. I need to go back to Golok Vrindavan. I need to do certain things, achieve certain things in my spiritual life, read Srimad Bhagavatam, learn certain verses. I want to be, if you're so attracted to Krishna, to the deity form, then I want to become puja. These are all ambitions that we have. Now Prabhupada said devotee has no ambition. So, and that person was confused. Though I'm reading, I'm also confused. I was like, how can I deal? Because we've all been brought up in a way that one after another you need to keep progressing. So I put myself on the line. If you ask my wife, she'll say I don't have any ambition. I don't know. I think I have some ambition, but for according to her, like, I don't have an ambition. And another person that I don't know most of you personally, but another person I can say who has no ambition is Mr. Radha Vinod Das. And we are both like cool guys, like whatever happens, it happens. What can you do? Like, you can say something to someone, but if they don't agree to it, or if they don't follow, what can you do? Can you just hold the neck and then drag them and do? You cannot do. You just carry on with your thing without anything in mind. But then, when I look back, when the time in the phase of our life were a little bit more free and we had more time, we both did book distribution for 2 years. And we used to not just do book distribution in temple room, but then we used to book stall after stall after stall for every event that happens around Sydney, in Blue Mountains, Katoomba, Blacktown, Riverbank, Riverstone, everywhere. We need to plan at least 2 months before, so that we put the application, get the permit, and sometimes we paid for it, which is minimal rates, like not too expensive. Most for the whole day it'd be like $70 max, because they're all like council organized. But for 2 years, we actually did the whole book distribution every Saturday, or every alternate Saturdays. So for 2 years, every fortnight we are working 6 days a week. So in that way, but the thing is, like, we didn't go there that we need to distribute so many books, we need to bring souls to. As I said, we were totally ambitionless. We just like being with each other. We like to get out of the house and then have a nice time. Put stall. We will just discuss and talk. If nobody is there, we'll talk among ourselves. We'll share our life, and it becomes so enjoyable. Now, Krishna conscious is also the similar kind of journey. You don't have to put too much pressure, because if you think about the activities that you have done before coming to Krishna consciousness, most of them would be pious, mostly impious activity, and some pious activity. But then when you come to Krishna consciousness, then it becomes spiritual. You think about spiritual. But then even when you come to Krishna consciousness, think about it. You're there in temple. Okay, I'll put it this way. If you are in an army, and then you are actually giving information, or you're just going to the enemy's camp now and then, or most of the time, will they consider you as part of the soldier of their army or the enemy's camp? So in our consciousness, what is the time that we are Krishna conscious, and what is the amount of time that we are like Maya consciousness or not Krishna conscious? So most of the time we are actually not Krishna conscious. But then you have to understand how great Shri Radha Gopinath is. He doesn't feel insecure. If this has happened, this is supposed to happen in our even yatra, even like when you see that devotees going to another Namahata or another preaching center which is not organized by temple, we feel like, oh my God, is he loyal to our temple or their temple or their initiative? We have all these doubts that are happening. But we drop in and drop out of Krishna conscious, go to Maya, do certain things in Maya, and then come back to Krishna and say, like, Krishna, see, I'm chanting, please help me. now Krishna doesn't actually become insecure like, what is this guy doing? Is he acting like a spy to Maya, or like is he really my devotee? He doesn't think like that. Just like father and mother, when a child does something wrong, they actually don't take it seriously. They're like, okay, it's my daughter, they're learning. That's how they actually take care of us. Like it said, Krishna Mata, Krishna Pita, Krishna Saki, Krishna, what is that other one? And then it says Krishna Bandhu, Krishna, and Krishna Guru, and then Krishna Shrutim, Krishna Gati, and Shrutim Saki. So basically Krishna is the father, mother, Krishna is the friend, Krishna is the shelter, Gati, and Krishna is the Guru, and also the supreme friend. So all these things, Krishna is trying to fulfill all these things without any discrimination or bias. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. And when we think about our things, even when you're practicing Krishna consciousness and everything, it's very hard to actually come out of a bad habits or like old habits. It also comes and haunts us very much. But Krishna is tolerating everything just because we've taken the decision that somehow or other I want to progress in the spiritual life. So that is something which is, we don't actually give it to other people. We might give 1 chance, 2 chance, 3 chance, and then after that we said, get out, I have enough dealing with you. And that's what happens with our kids as well. We sometimes, emotions get over us. But Krishna has not only been tolerant with us in this lifetime, but for so many lifetimes. And Krishna is tolerant even when devotees come to Krishna conscious, get initiated, but then for whatever reason they actually happen to not give up their oaths of initiation, and then after 20 years, because in Krishna conscious 20 years is a long time, but when Maya 20 years is like just flies away. And after that they come back, oh my God, I did something wrong, I shouldn't have left. Krishna still accepts them. Right? I don't know where did I hear this one? There is one devotee of one disciple of Srila Prabhupada who actually left the movement. And when some of his godbrothers went and asked him, you could do so much service for Prabhupada. He was totally like burnt out of all the different things. He said like, oh, I will surrender to Krishna if I get cancer. And Krishna, no matter, you would guess what Krishna gave him. He gave him cancer. And then when he had cancer, then he actually kind of, whole life becomes a reflection. And then he took up Krishna consciousness so seriously. It didn't happen straight away, but then it took some years for him to had some time playing in the material world, and then got cancer. But when he got cancer and he got really ill, then he took up Krishna consciousness so seriously. And then when in the last days of his life, he was saying, I regret so much because I could have done so much for Srila Prabhupada, but I could not do that. But still, Krishna is not a very demoniac person saying like, you coming back to me only when you're ill. You didn't give your youth and you give your energy when you were well. He did not do that. Krishna says, whatever service you do to Krishna, Krishna accepts. And it's the intent and just that, just the thought that I do not belong to this material world. I am a spirit soul and I belong to Krishna. That itself is enough for Krishna to give you all the protection. But as kids, sometimes parents do correct them, do discipline them. So in that way, Krishna always does something. In the material world, Krishna wants us to be happy as well. That's why he created the Vedas. So that people can know the Vedas and he can be happy. But because we misuse the independence, we are actually inviting suffering onto ourselves on our own accord. It's not Krishna trying to say that, okay, you are away from me, so now let me just put you in some trouble and then fry you a little bit so that you will get a chance to come back to me. No, it doesn't. Even though he says dukkale mashashvatam, he does not come in personally. he's just letting the three modes of material nature to deal with it. And according to it, the material nature is what? Like it's the subordinates. They don't have personal authority to tweak or change things. So whatever you do, they just reciprocate. Like how in a mirror, if you smile, you'll see a smiling face. If you're sad, you see a sad face. And you punch the mirror, you get a hurt. So it's about how you deal with the mirror. It's the same thing how you deal with the three modes of material nature. So very important that we understand Krishna is always our well-wisher. Now, here it says that all one's activity in a life devoid of Krishna consciousness simply leads to defeat and misuse of one's nature, or misuse of one's life. Now, originally, in Krishna consciousness or in spiritual world, it always says that we don't have any envy with other people. When devotees do service for Krishna, we're not envious. And that's where, and also like in the Bible and all these things, they say like the spiritual world or the place of the heaven is where the lion and the deer actually sit together. Because there's no envy. There is nothing to feel he is my prey or the animal is my prey and I am there to enjoy. It's very, very conjugal environment. But as our nature, we are always taught how to progress in life. We need to keep moving from one stage to another. If we are stagnant in one place, then people will say like, what's happening? Are you not doing anything in your life? And it's a very nice thing which if you read the book, The Salted Bed, the two devotees who actually tried to practice Krishna consciousness in Russia, the Soviet Union. And they're put in jail, the whole all the things that they went through. All they were doing was like, even being in the jail, just eating bread, not that salted, that's why it's called salted bread, just some salt. That was not in salt, it was actually, they actually used, yes, salt, but even the water that they dipped, the bread was so thick, they dipped it in the water, which water was actually so impure. So they used some electrolyte or something to just clean the water, and then they just dip the bread and eat it. That's all they did. But he said, like, when I was there in the jail for how many years or time he was, all I was doing was chanting 16 rounds and not eating whatever food they gave, just eat bread. But devotees were saying that was a great achievement. But now, after he came out of the jail, he was still doing chanting and other services, but then people were questioning, are you not doing anything other than chanting? So this is where our mentality about ambition, achieve, comes through. And the reason that we do is because we want to prove us of our worth for someone else. Because when we see somebody else is more scholarly, when we see somebody else is more renounced, when we see somebody else is more is getting name and fame, and somebody is actually has much more connections than us, we feel insecure. Like, what am I doing here? I've been in this movement for about like maybe 20 years something. This person who's actually been just 2 years or just started, he's able to influence people more, and all these things comes to us, and then it creates this sense of insecurity. Then what happens? We try to push for it so that we also get that same thing. But in the olden days with the tribal community, or when people lived where agriculture was the main source of sustenance, they didn't have to dress up certain way, they didn't have to do anything which is to prove to someone, to show up for somebody else. You understand? They just were happy with whatever they had. And that's the beauty of actually a simple life. When you try to do too much for other people, we don't actually have peace in our life. Now, one of the things that we I don't know if we thank enough Krishna for many things. One of the things we need to thank Krishna for one thing we need to thank Krishna certainly is to giving us something called night, where we actually lie down, we sleep. we forget who we are, what we are, whether we are young, old, nothing. When you sleep, you don't get any of these, you don't carry any of these labels. And the next day you get up, at least your body is refreshed. But what's happening with the current situation? Even people are not able to sleep because of gadgets and other things that they do. And as soon as the electricity was invented, what happened? There's light 24/7 whenever you want. At least in the third world countries you got power cut, but here we are advanced, so we don't have power cuts. So, but you can actually be there and use the light to be awake all night, which is not good for us. It actually resets our body. The body needs some rest, and it also gives that the body is a mission. It needs some rest. Now this is what you see when people who are too competitive, who have envy, and who are actually not happy with themselves, they're not able to sleep. Now my daughter here, Loka, she always says, Daddy, you can sleep anytime, wherever you want. Right? But I think that's a compliment. I'll take it as a compliment. Because to sleep, to have peace of mind, is actually a great blessing. When people who are disturbed, who are not happy within, they cannot sleep. Even taking medication, it's very hard. And medications don't come for free, they come with side effects as well. And those sleeping tablets and everything. So we are actually putting unnatural things to do or something which is very natural. Now, I want to just finish off. I had so many things to say, but it's always. So we come to Krishna conscious, at least devotees, we were conscious with Krishna. So every time we do something wrong, or we see that we haven't done something very aligned to the scriptures, we feel regret. Like for example, if you eat on Ekadeshi day, if you happen to eat grains, then you feel like, oh my God, why did I do it? You feel that the enjoyment that you get out of eating something on Ekadeshi, like grain or whatever it is, you feel that it does not give you satisfaction of the heart if you have actually fasted the whole day or not broken the Ekadeshi fast. That's where devotee comes from. So we feel regret. But then if you look at people who are not conscious of this spiritual path, they do everything. They do a lot of things. Because they think it's by their own effort that they actually can achieve certain things. And what happens? Everything fails. If they still have some piety within them, they come to temple or come to God. But if they've exhausted everything that in their power and things haven't happened their way, what do? They start getting suicidal thoughts. Because they have done everything. They don't know what more do they have to do to achieve certain things. And because they don't understand the law of karma, that there is a supreme controller who actually sanctions certain things in your life, just because you have certain skills or certain influence doesn't mean everything needs to happen. So there they come to suicidal intentions. So but we devotees, we need to understand, sometimes when things go our way, it's good. When most times things don't go our way, that is very good. Okay? Because it's actually Krishna is in control. Right? So I will leave this question for you to ponder, and it actually challenges the way we have been brought up. So we want to become successful in life, we want to become maybe a great Bhagavatam speaker like Lal Govind Prabhu, we want to become a Kirtanier like Sri Prahlad Prabhu or Madhav Prabhu, we want to be the best, right? We want to become a best cook like Kurma Prabhu, famous, everything is there. Now, what is your answer if Krishna comes and says, okay, even if it is spiritual, let's say you want to become a great Bhagavatam speaker or a scholarly person, very renounced person or a great cook, anything. So there's two options. I'll give you what you want, even spiritually, not even materially, we're even taking and keeping it aside. Spiritually, whatever ambitions that you have, I will fulfill that. Okay, but you have a choice whether you want that one, but that doesn't come with a guarantee that you're going to come back to Golok Vrindavan. But there's another proportion where I don't know what you're going to go through in your spiritual life. It's totally it's a surprise. You can't figure out what's happening, but the guarantee is you'll come back to Golok Vrindavan. Which one would you choose? I leave it with you. And the last point is, when a train goes from one station to another, which the other station could be 10 kilometers away or 100 kilometers away, or even could be like, what is the train which goes from here to Perth? Like, it's about more than 1,000 kilometers away. Now, when the train leaves Sydney and reaches Perth, it's not, we always see the luxury within the compartment. There's first class, second class, the food that we get, the big engine which is actually pulling the whole train, and all these things. But we also need to understand, when it leaves from Sydney and reaches Perth, with the train, the small screw that's actually connecting just one bolt, which is connecting any of those train devices, it also reaches Perth. So we have to understand what is our goal in Krishna consciousness. Is it to become famous, or to become more influential, or we want to go to Golok Vrindavan at the end of the life? So that's the question that we need to ask ourselves. So Hare Krishna, I'll stop here. Any questions, comments? Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Ambitions, yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yes. What's your name? Surya Prakash Das. Surya Prakash Das. Prakasa, okay. So the question is, in Krishna consciousness as well, one should have this ambition that to place Guru and follow his instructions should be one of the ambition of devotees. Yes, it is. Now, when Prabhupada answered that question, that a devotee doesn't have ambitions, doesn't mean like but Prabhupada is always saying that one should follow the instructions of spiritual master. That is embedded. But when you say of ambitions, my take on it is that when you have ambition, what happens is you choose which service you want to do. But when you don't have ambition, if a Guru Maharaj says you do this, or like somebody says we need help here, you would say like, okay, fine. Even you could be doing one service really well, but when you see that there is a help that's needed, you don't have attachment. But when you have ambitions, what happens is you're planning your future. Okay, now I'm doing this for next 2 years. By next 2 years, I need to come to a lead position in that one. I need to be leading that stream, and then after that, I need to take care of 2 other streams. So that becomes a motive, not just serving. So what happens if we have ambition is that sometimes we look at our self-interest, our self-improvement. But if you don't have ambition, then we only worried about Krishna. Like in Golok Vrindavan, it's the same thing. Mother Yashoda is just always worried about Krishna. Like what's happening to him? Is he safe and everything? Now she's not worried, oh my God, I should become a coward boy so that I can be with Krishna all through the day. And I like that fun activity. No, it's not like that. So that's where ambition comes in. So that is underlined, that the devotional aspect. But from point of doing the service, if you don't have ambitions in the sense of using that service to achieve next thing and greater things, then it's very simple. Very simple. The heart can be in a very simple state of mind. Yeah. Thank you. Anything else? Grantraj. Oh, sorry. Go for it. Okay. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Mm-hmm.